Everybody, I'm Sandy Duncan, intuitive medium, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes with the Rescue Mediums. For anyone unfamiliar, Rescue Mediums was a hit TV series that was filmed from 2006 to 2011 and can still be seen in many countries around the world on veryparanormal.com and on YouTube. Mediums would visit people's homes that were disturbed by spirits and rescue them into the light. Please help me welcome 4 people that made this groundbreaking series possible. Edna Dargie, Director of Research. Michael Lamport, producer, writer, narrator. Michael was all over. Jackie Dennison, rescue medium, international medium and psychic artist. And Alison Wynne-Ryder, rescue medium, international medium, and author of the wonderful book, The Quirky Medium, The Extraordinary Life of an Unlikely Clairvoyant. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Thanks, Sandy.
We're back.
Yes.
It feels really good. To get everything sort of started, I have a question from a viewer. If we could start with that, that would be great. Her name is Melissa. I just want to read it so I get it right. She says, I've had my cousin come in and do sages, but I feel that spirit needs help. There is some history of murder in the house, and I have seen some ghosts, and I'm not even psychic. Could you give some words of wisdom to Melissa, please?
Oh, heck. Well, of course, it depends what is going on in the house as to how you deal with it. Just the fact that there had been history of murder connected, it doesn't mean to say that that's connected to what's happening. So I think I would want to know more information from her before being able to give advice. Although sage in a place is fantastic. What about from a healing aspect, Alison? Doing some Reiki within the room?
Definitely sort of invoking, I would say, Archangel Michael to help, to protect them, wrapping themselves in the blue cloak of light after grounding. Saging is good, but obviously if there is spirit in the home, then the saging isn't going to move the spirit. The spirit will stay there. So yeah, healing on any level is always good. And filling the room, I always put like pale blue light in the room to sort of lift it a little, crystals and stuff. But all of that, like I say, if there is spirit there, that's not going to move the spirit on. It might lift the energy a little while they decide, I mean, really, exactly like you said, Jackie, we'd need more information. When did this start happening? Is it, it's obviously not just around one person, because the lady that's written in isn't psychic and she can even sense and see the spirits there. So it's an interesting one. And the fact that there's been murder in or around the property, it might be obviously residual energy. We'd need to know more, really. But I'm glad that she's written in and asked, because if there's anything that we can do collectively, then obviously, we will do.
Other than that, seem to be scaring her, does it?
Yeah.
She writing in, she doesn't seem to be frightened. She's sort of accepting it.
Yeah.
She just wants to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. It needs dealing with, doesn't it? Before, just in case it gets any stronger.
That's true.
But we do need to, Jackie's right, we do need more information to be able to help. Yeah. It's a really good question. And I'm glad that she's asked it.
I think it's interesting that she said, and I'm not even psychic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, everybody's born psychic with a psychic ability. So I think she's probably more psychic than she realizes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So we're going to have some discussion on some spookier episodes of Rescue Mediums today. And I would love to start off with season 5, episode 2, Double Toil and Trouble, which took place in Cambridge. As just a little tiny jog of the memory. Jackie, you were overshadowed. Alison, you had to actually leave the house. And I've got a couple of little quotes maybe that'll help kind of refresh. Alison, you heard that you were being used as bait, and you mentioned that to Jackie, and also heard someone say, "Take your time, I'm waiting for you." Jackie referred to the ghost as a schizophrenic manic ghost, and Jackie, and Alison and Edna and Michael, I'll leave it to you, and we can even talk about the evidence that was presented after.
Is that the one where we were in the basement, where we'd got the spirit of the man that was going from me and then to Alison? He was going backwards and forwards between the two of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
that
think
was
so.
scary.
That the homeowner's name, I believe, was Alicia.
I thought it was Charlene. Or am I
Charlene.
mixing?
Yeah, Charlene and Frank. That's it.
Oh.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. That it was really scary. Didn't we have a cross or something with us, Alison?
We did, in the basement. Well, they had a cross themselves in the property that kept falling off a ledge, Charlene said, and they thought it was the cats, but the cats couldn't get up there. And this happened 3 times. So that was quite salient. And we had this massive cross between us, obviously, to help us. And he didn't like the cross. And he kept trying to pull it from me to you, from you to me.
That's it.
He overshadowed both of us.
Yeah.
And I think your description of him, what did you say? A schizophrenic, manic. I think that was a very good description.
A schizophrenic, manic, schizophrenic or something. Yeah.
Schizophrenic, manic ghost, which is exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But it was hard to sort of figure out at first, because we kept getting really nice, light and quite fluffy information, and then all of a sudden it got really dark and horrible, and then he was saying things like that, you know, I'm going to use you as bait. So we were like really puzzled about it, and then we realized that we're dealing with somebody, I suppose, for want of a better word, with a split personality.
I remember us at one point sort of hanging on to, there was a pillar in the middle of the basement, and we were sort of hanging on to this.
That was you. Because he'd overshadowed me, and then you went, "Come to me," which was fine if we were both sitting down, because we'd had a discussion before, we must not be split up, because he was trying to split us up.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
Then he overshadowed you really strong, and you was holding on to the pillar, and you could feel some of the, because he ended up in a mental asylum, and you could feel some of the horrendous, torturous, I suppose, treatments that he was getting. It was awful. So yeah, it was, for me, that was one of the strong. And then before we went into the basement, I just felt sick, and I just couldn't, and I was shaking, and I had to get out of that property. I think that's the only one.
Yeah. Didn't Edna run after you? Is that the one where you, Edna, where you ran after her?
Yes, which is absolutely a no-no when you're doing the show, because I had thought the cameras had stopped because of the because also you were so afraid, you were running, and so I jumped up to run after you to see if it was okay.
Oh, I'm so lovely.
Not pleased with. But I think a little clip of that was actually kept in the show.
Yes, it was.
Right, just
yeah.
Because it makes it show how real. It makes the viewer realize how real it is.
Definitely.
You know, like if it wasn't real, we wouldn't have kept a little clip in.
Yeah, it was great for you.
Yeah, and the crew were going to intervene, weren't they?
Yeah.
The crew at one point, I think it was Mike Handringer, one of the camera guys, who'd said another second, and we would have just put the cameras down and come inside, because it really was. They were worried for, I think, for not just for our good health, but for our sanity, because he was really trying to get into our minds, didn't he?
Yeah, and he nearly did. That's the thing.
Well, Edna, in the history of this one, when you were studying it, do you remember what sort of time period the spirit would have been in when he went to the asylum?
Oh, I believe it was in the late 1800s. Now, don't quote me on that, but I'm just kind of looking at the file, and I had made all kinds of photographs of some of the tortures in the insane asylum.
Oh my goodness.
That they had to undergo.
Oh.
And this was from the actual asylum that he was in. Yeah, there's another one here that's kind of, there we are.
Wow. Yes. Oh, I remember that photograph. Well, that picture, I remember you showing that to us when we were bringing all the information together at the end of the show. Horrendous.
Yeah, it's amazing what we've done as human beings in the past years when we didn't know what the heck we were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so archaic. I mean, I believe that is actually torture.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they believed they were doing the best for the patient.
Yeah.
They really believed that this would help.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. It's yeah, it's no wonder that he was like he was, really. You know, that added to everything else.
Yeah.
You know.
Edna, in the research part, you actually found this particular spirit's patient record in the asylum, which was incredible. How did you do that?
Fortunately, some of the asylums are online with the information and the records. So as soon as you have a name, and you can then investigate and start to get the information that you need. It's always hit and miss of location and just what's available. And of course, today there's so much more available than there was back when we were actually doing the show online. Otherwise, there's an amazing archives in Cambridge, in Guld, and they have wonderful records there.
I have a just question just came right into my head, so I'm not sure I'm going to take credit for figuring this one out, but here's a question for everybody. Do you think there's a fine line between diagnosed mental illness and being psychic or mediumistic?
Yes. Yeah, because I've got a t-shirt and it says, "You're only jealous because little voices only speak to me," and it's a great t-shirt with a great slogan. But you know what, you're absolutely right, because there is a very thin line. You know, you hear people who say, "Oh, I've got voices in my head." Well, how do you know that that person isn't actually hearing spirit?
Yeah.
So it's, to me, it's, again, I know we talk about grounded. you know, it's about being grounded and understanding what is going on, so that you don't put everything down to it being a psychic, or, you know, it's down to being spiritual or whatever. Yeah. There's an explanation for it, or there's something medically wrong. It's always good to get checked out anyway. But yeah, I'm very careful about who I tell what I do for a living, just in case they, you know, they bring the little yellow van with the white coated men. The
thing about it, though, is that I think when we hear voices in our heads, like the general public, and you say that to your physician or your doctor, you're immediately put into a particular compartment. Yeah. And I don't think that doctors say, let's see if there's anything psychic going on. Most doctors would not say that, in my opinion.
Even in this day and age.
Yeah,
and it must have been horrendous. Yeah. You know, hundreds of years ago, people who actually genuinely were psychic, they'd just be put away, wouldn't they?
My nana, my dad's mum, they took her into hospital when she was a younger person, when I'm not quite sure what her age was. She was married, so she's got to have been, she was 28 when she got married, so it's over that sort of time. But they took her into a mental institution, and she was given electrical shock treatment, which she only ever talked to me about once, because it stayed with her, and she was in hospital for a week. They said she'd had a nervous breakdown, mental breakdown or whatever, through some trauma that she'd had from her childhood. But so they'd understand where it came from. But the thing was, my nan was psychic, and I only found out much later in her life that she used to do I suppose like readings. Really, she would communicate with spirit, and I never found out until she was quite an old lady that that's what she used to do. So how much of it was she was hearing the voices in her head then, because she did say that she was hearing things. She was hearing things, and they put it down to it being a mental exhaustion or whatever, and the trauma from childhood.
And then
it's almost like the witches, when people sort of said in Salem and around Boston, you know, you're a witch, you know, let's see if she floats. But Edna, there was a place north of Toronto here in Canada. I think it was near Bracebridge, and there was an asylum there that people in this area were just shipped off to if there was something seemingly wrong in their head. Isn't that right?
Well, there were a few hospitals for the criminally insane, Penetang being one, and then, oh gosh, it wasn't Bracebridge. It was over by Midland, I believe, that there was another hospital as well. And when you go back into the records there and look at the death records and the number of people that died in very nasty ways. Yeah.
It's interesting you say about Penetang, because as soon as you said that, for the place for the criminally mentally insane at Penetang, because we dealt with that, Alison, didn't we? At Penetang Machine Museum.
Oh yes, the museum. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we had that lady from the museum. Now she came, I think I'm right in saying, there was a bed there that was, because it was a museum, they had things in the archives there, and there was a bed that came from that museum, from that institution.
That's right.
That very institution where I think it's Sarah was the name of the lady that we helped to cross over. But that was another scary one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
She was literally clawing herself, wasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, we were scratching ourselves. Do you remember that? Because she was covered in, because the horrendous sort of place where she was kept, she was in a sort of a cell-like place, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, a lot of them, most of them were spooky and scary, weren't they? There was a few that were sort of like lighter. But obviously, these were haunted properties, and, we'd have to deal with whoever was there and communicate with them and then send them on the merry way.
I mean, unless it's Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yes.
They were all
There is another one to mention here. This is season 7, episode 8, A Watery Grave. In this particular one, it was a mother and a daughter, and the mom was explaining that her daughter had recently explored her own intuitive abilities, and the mother was thinking that the daughter invited the spirits in because she was trying to become more intuitive and learn about what she could do.
Yeah.
There was a Ouija board in that one as well.
Oh, that's a whole subject on its own.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's about handling things in the right way. I'm not just talking about Ouija boards, but with when people start opening up to their psychic ability, it's always, I think, helpful if you find someone who is someone reputable who will help you to develop your skills, your psychic skills, to rediscover those psychic skills that we're all born with, and to how to approach it in a very rational way, so that you're not opening something that you can't control. So you're in control of your gift rather than the gift being in control of you. There's a lot of people like that, though. I get a lot of people coming to me, who these sort of things are happening to. I'm sure you do, Alison, as well.
Yeah, definitely. I do. Yeah.
We've all got
So
this
it's,
ability.
yeah.
But on the Ouija board thing, well, because we just brought it up, I know that you, Jackie, and Alison too, completely disagree with using it. I think, but could it be possible that a Ouija board isn't in contact with spirit, but it's just something that's in your own mind? To make it more, just to make it more simple. I mean, do you think a spirit is attracted to a Ouija board?
Yes, in a word. Yeah, but it's interesting you should say about that, though, about it being in your mind, because of course, as soon as you put your mind to something, you think, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Your mind is focused on that thing. So, you're getting a Ouija board for a reason. So your mind is already, I'm going to use this Ouija board to, you're not doing it to buy something off, Amazon. You're using it because you want to communicate with someone in spirit. And so the intent is there. And so, of course, yes, your imagination will come into that, and it can make you. I knew a girl that I went to school with who she ended up in hospital because she was so terrified of this Ouija board that she'd used that had an effect on her so badly that she ended up in a ward in hospital for mentally unstable people. She had to have counselling and everything. Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
See, it's all about the intent with everything that you do.
Yeah.
And the intent with using a Ouija board is usually at Halloween, where you want to frighten yourself to death and everybody that's with you doing the Ouija board. And that's like feeding fear. And it goes on and on and on. And so it could start off as that. And then obviously you're not grounded. And then, lower entity spirits will come in and they will see that open space and they'll take advantage of it.
Ouija boards still sell very well, don't they? Ouija boards sell well. Like, I mean, here in North America, in Walmart, for example, they sell Ouija boards.
Yeah.
In Walmart,
people like it.
Oh my God. Right. I mean, I remember us going into a toy shop, don't you, Jackie? And they were selling pink ones for girls and blue ones for boys. I couldn't believe what I was seeing because you in the UK, I mean, and certainly where I lived, you couldn't buy Ouija boards like that. I know you can buy anything online now, can't you? But it's such a dangerous tool unless somebody's using it in the right way. And most people don't, they're doing it for a laugh. And then it ends up being the opposite to fun, you know?
Yeah.
So,
you're right, it is for a laugh. Most people use it to like, oh, look, I can spell out your middle name and I don't know it. And it is that sort of, it just becomes a fun thing for people to do, but people don't realize what they're opening.
Yeah, exactly.
I think right.
Yeah. Edna, when you go into the properties with Michael beforehand, do either you or Michael, ask the homeowners about Ouija boards?
Absolutely. That's one of the, because we could see the pattern happening. Yeah. So that was absolutely on the list of questions that we would ask. Has anyone in your home used a Ouija board? Who was it? When was it? And then as soon as we got a yes answer, okay, that means it's a possibility that is at the source of what's going on here.
Yeah. So then that would affect how you went about the research, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. well, it could open up. It
Yeah.
actually made it worse, because if they had opened up a portal, that spirit could have come from anywhere,
Yeah.
not
Exactly.
necessarily connected with the land or the home or that
The
specific
person.
area.
Mm.
So in a way, it made it worse instead of better, because it opened up possibilities of who was
Yeah.
invited in.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
It's
if anyone
certainly-
watching, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go. It's okay.
If anyone watching has a Ouija board that maybe that's tucked in the back of a cupboard, or maybe they're using it, what do you think some advice would be for them?
Don't use it.
Don't use it.
Get rid of it now.
It's like, doctor, it hurts when I do this. Oh, don't do that.
Could it have an effect still, even if it's at the back of a cupboard? Like, should they get rid of it out of the house completely?
I
Well,
would.
why is it there? You know, if they're not going to use it, why is it there?
Right.
Because they
That's
are
the
going to
thing.
use it. You're right. You know, if they weren't going to use it, it wouldn't be in the house at all. So
Yeah.
How do you destroy a Ouija board successfully? Because I've heard, I do not know, but I've heard rumors that it's very difficult to destroy them.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the thing is with the Ouija board is that they have to be closed down, and that doesn't mean putting the board away and putting the lid on it and putting it in a cupboard. It's the portal that has been created that you can't physically see, that has to be closed. That's what it's all about. So even if you were to bury that or burn it, that actual box with the game in it, if that portal is still open, then you've still got a problem. So it's about closing it down, closing, you know, and I would just say visualize a doorway that is going to close shut tight with a key, lock it, and you put the key in your pocket and make sure that, you know, that is, because before you try and either bury it in the soil or burn it or whatever, I certainly wouldn't put it into the garbage for somebody else to pick out, which sounds awful.
No,
somebody going in the
exactly.
garbage, but you just never know, do you?
No. And once
Does
it's
anybody
closed,
on the panel here know when the Ouija board sort of became popular or when it was invented?
I
My
Egyptians.
guess would be back in the 1800s, when it was very popular and spiritualism was beginning, and they were starting to make contact in the late 1800s with spirit. That would be my guess, that it started to appear at that time.
and they used to call them, and they would include the Ouija board in that as parlor games, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
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 Which is like quite frightening, really, when you think, you know. And it was all done for fun and to connect with spirit without them realizing the repercussions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question for Michael. Was it ever a frightening feeling when you were doing the editing, when you were going over what had happened and maybe seeing the entirety of the episode for the first time?
Yes, initially, when you look at it first, because when you edit something, it's a long process. Yeah, it was spooky because, you know, you remember being there and then you see it on screen and you're like, whoa. But then the editing process is so repetitive that when you've seen it like 70 times, it doesn't scare you anymore. You just go, oh. But yeah, it does get scary.
I know for Jackie and I think I remember the first time you were showing us one of the videos, you know, one of the videos had actually been produced, you know, after being edited, Michael.
Yeah.
And we sat there, and I'd been overshadowed, but you don't remember what happens, do you, all the time? You know, you're taken out for a lot of the time, aren't you, Jackie? So you don't remember every detail. So that was quite weird and scary, watching us both on screen and thinking, I actually don't remember that bit. I'm feeling really, oh my God, you know, So, yeah, that was like really shivers down the spine moment.
I was waiting for your shivers down the spine. I've not heard that for a while.
I know, me neither. It's good.
We had our T-shirts, didn't we?
We
As well.
did. Yeah.
We designed our own T-shirts. Well, you drew them because you're a fantastic artist, and then we put the slogans on them and had them
We did.
printed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Edna, same kind of question. When you were putting and compiling the evidence and putting it together, did you ever feel the spirit who had frightened Alison and Jackie with you?
By the time I'm pulling it together, the rescue had already happened. So I would say if I'm feeling anything, it's because I'm present during the rescue. I'm present during the walkarounds and the investigations. Pulling together the evidence, no. I would say that that's sort of after the fact. Yeah.
That's the calmest part, maybe then.
Could I ask Edna and Michael something that's just sort of just popped into my head? When you go to meet the homeowners, when you go to the property, and obviously you're listening to what they're saying, so you can, you know, you will be able to sort of differentiate between somebody who just wants to be on the telly and somebody who is actually experiencing an unexplained activity. Do you feel and sense stuff while you're in there that helps you to make that decision? Do you know what I mean? Do you feel spirit or see them, or, you know, is your gut feeling going, this is definitely a scary one?
When I go in with Edna, I ask the homeowners like direct questions about what they've seen, and also about what they believe, and ask them if they've had any experiences like this in the past. And that can eliminate a lot of people, because a lot of people, as you say, Alison, they just say like, hey, okay, we can get on the telly.
Yes.
and that's not what we want.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I don't believe we've ever had anything like that. I believe that we've just had people that go like, okay, and they don't really want to be on the telly or exposed.
Yes.
But they, you can usually tell in the first meeting, as I know you two can, whether the person is sort of really telling you what they feel and the truth, or if they're making a bunch of crap up.
Yeah,
I can usually know that.
So you know intuitively, you feel that and sense that you know, and everything about them and the way they've answered the questions, that they're real.
Yeah.
Do you feel anything, Edna, when you go in, and you know, when you go in with Michael and you're speaking to the
when I'm first interviewing with the homeowners and so on, yes, very often I do when I walk into the home.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
It can be more or less depending on what's happening, and depending on the place. But yes, very often I do feel something there.
Was it ever so strong you just said, we're not going in?
Oh no. Oh no.
No, then just send me and Jackie in.
It would be, wow, the crew's gonna love this. Gonna love this place. Let's go.
Yeah, they're the ones that they know, oh, they've got to go in there. Let's shove them in.
Yeah. Throw them into the lion's den.
Yeah, I think we've used that phrase a few times as well, haven't we?
We have.
We're feeling that, exactly. Yeah.
And we do it with a remote camera, so the cameramen aren't at any risk. Only you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we've never done that. I'm telling you, we've never done that.
No, we've got a good crew.
I guess that's why it was all that much more important to have fun at the very end of the show, or especially for the spookier episodes.
Definitely.
Yeah. And which is what we should be doing now. We should do a cheers, I think.
Absolutely.
I've got me flamingos at the ready. There they are.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, Sandy.
Thanks, everyone. Nice
Thank
to
Cheers,
you.
Sandy.
Bye.
Thank you, Sandy.
Bye.
Bye.